Welcome to the Adoption Side by Side podcast, because no one should have to walk the adoption journey alone. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Steph. We walk the journey together and would like to walk it with you if you'll have us.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. We're thankful you tuned in today. We are really excited today to talk about a topic we have not yet begun to address on the podcast, which is international adoption. So if you recall our previous guests, we've had both Sarah, who talked about the birth mom's perspective, and our mutual friend Katie, who connected us. We all met through the same theater group. So that is also how I met our guests today, Beth and Mira. So Beth's older children, Trevor and Molly, started theater with us in the early 2000s. So when I met their family, Mira, you were very young. You were very grown up now. So it's nice to see you again after
see you too.
all this time. To start today, Beth, you and your husband had 4 biological children before Mira joined your family. So would you like to talk about what led you and your husband to consider adding another child to your family in that way?
Yeah. So when I was growing up, my adoption was very prevalent in my family. It was very normal. I had aunts, cousins, um, second cousins. It just was a completely normal way to grow your family. And so I think I just always knew that that would be part of my story as well. Um, so it did take Rob a little longer to pray, but it was always on my heart. Yeah.
Do you know what Rob would say his hesitation was, or just wasn't something he really thought about?
It wasn't something that he was familiar with. So for me, it was everyday normal, and for him, it was not something that he was familiar with or would have considered had I not brought it up. So, yeah, it took some prayerful consideration. We actually went to a Stephen Curtis Chapman concert
Mm.
way, way, way back. And it was the first time he started talking about Show Hope. And he was talking about, raising money to build bridges for families to adopt. And I'm sobbing and Rob's like, "Yeah, we can donate money." I'm like, "I don't want to donate money. I want to adopt. I want to adopt." And he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to pray about that." So worked
Well,
out.
I was gonna say, it seems like it worked out pretty good. So now, can you describe what that process then looked like for your family, maybe starting back with the home study process?
So we actually started out with foster to adopt. So we had a foster to adopt home study, and that took, it was a year or two. We then tried, it was kind of like a hybrid where it was like we did make a family book and there was a birth mother looking, but it was through this foster adopt. Um, and that didn't work out. There was it just didn't work family. And so we took a little break. We told our social worker we were going to take a little break. And then all of a sudden, like right around the same time, we had taken a break for about 3 months. And then our social worker called me and said, Beth, have you ever considered international adoption? And at the same time, I'm running into people talking about international adoption. They're giving me books, and I'm like, could we really do this? And there was a point where Rob was like, you know what, you need to let this go. And I did. And I just said, okay, God, if you want to do this, you'll have to put it on Rob's heart because we needed to be in unity. And so, all around the same time, beginning of December, I guess it would have been 2005, um, he says, "You know what? Why don't you go ahead and do the research and on international adoption from China. And I was like, all right. And I literally had a contract in his hand on Friday. Like, you got it. We're ready. Let's go. Let's do this. So, yeah.
So with that part of it, was the contract with the agency that you signed up to adopt with, or was it just like the information for him specifically? And then how did you get to the agency you worked with?
Okay, so I we already had our Pennsylvania home study.
Mhm.
So what happened was I just did, Google searching different, I wanted a Christian organization, adoption organization, and I found All God's Children International, and they're still doing really good work. And so like I narrowed it down to three and, talked to Rob about it and started talking, making the phone calls and so All God's Children, it was just the right fit for us.
Okay.
That's neat that they're still working today. It's good to see when an organization like that lasts that long. So
Oh yeah, they
yeah,
they do really good work. Yeah.
yeah, that's great. So then after you signed up with them, how long did you wait before you were matched with your daughter?
Yeah, so we were in the special needs track. Um, so back then there were a lot, you were waiting a couple years to get matched for healthy baby girls. That was the way it was back then. So we were in the special needs track. So we started getting referrals right away. And no, 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 no. So December was when we signed a contract with them, and it was January. It was my birthday.
Mm.
Um, we got a referral, and um, so Rob and I read the referral together. And so we didn't open the picture. We had just read the referral, and we got all the kids together, and we opened the picture, and it was slow. The internet was slow then. So this picture is, slowly revealing itself, and we're all crying. And Rob's like, "Oh, she looks like one of us. She looks like she's part of our family." And it was just, it was just meant to be. It was just, but we were all there together, and it was really, really, really special that we were all together and we were all unified. And um, it's a beautiful, beautiful
How,
memory.
what's the age difference between Michelle and
Michelle,
you? Yeah. Like how old
yeah,
was
2 years.
she? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I
she
was gonna
was
say I knew they were
little.
close.
Yeah, she was little.
Yeah. So, and then how long was it until you met in person?
Yeah, it was only 6 months. I mean, I was so determined. So I'm like, give me a checklist and I'm gonna do everything that needs to happen. And yeah, I mean, that's unheard of today.
Yeah.
Like that, it really was uncommon then too, but it only took 6 months. So we met her July 3rd, and the adoption was final on July 4th. And so it was 10 days in country. It was five days in her province and then 5 days in Guangzhou, where the US consulate was.
Okay.
Okay.
And how old was she when you got like the referral and then obviously 6 months after? Like what was her age?
She turned 2 when we were in
Okay.
China. Yeah. Yeah.
And then before we talk about that first time of meeting her, do you want to describe how, because I know your faith is important to you, how your faith played a part in that waiting process?
Yeah, it was really hard. So yeah, it's just constantly praying and trusting, and we would get updates occasionally. We were allowed to send her gifts, pictures of us, like a little family family book. So we got updates from the orphanage. We got, and then I was in waiting um, adoption waiting families group, like a Yahoo group from our agency. And then we were in a also I was also in a group from her province of other people who were adopting the same time. So you know, other other moms went before us, and so they were able to take pictures of her and show us. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And so, but that's that's the beginning of that's the beginning of learning how to trust God with your child.
Mm.
Yeah, she needed her mommy and daddy, but God was with her. And so it really strengthened our faith. The waiting part really strengthened our faith because we could only trust him and trust that he loved her and cared for her and was with her, you know.
Yeah, that's a lesson I don't always like learning.
No,
We were just talking
yeah.
this morning about our kids were last night. My son was asking me, I told him, hey, when you wake up today, mommy's going to be podcasting. So Grammy's coming over and he was asking me, mommy, come back? I was like, oh, I'm like, yes, I'm coming back. But that's for a couple hours I'm away. So that had to be a hard, very hard time to wait.
It,
And
it
Well,
was really hard.
yeah, and I think about like our son was born our time, it was 8:30 at night here, but in Arizona it was 5, and then we didn't get to him until 11 o'clock their time. And for whatever reason, the past like 4 or 5 months, I haven't even shared this for you. I've been having like mom guilt that I wasn't there the minute he was born, and I wasn't there like right at like hours. Like we waited to get on the plane just because logistically it made sense to fly out in the morning to be there fresh in the morning and not have been traveling all night. Granted, we didn't sleep well anyways, but I've had that mom guilt of like, I wasn't there. I should have been there. Like he spent the night with the nurse. He was perfectly fine. Like he has no memories of that, but he's gonna maybe eventually listen to this and be like, well, what time did you come pick me up or see me the first time? And you're right. That's like a true test of like, and in that moment, I wasn't thinking that, but now thinking back on it, we we trusted that God was going to be with him, and I only had, I don't know, what was that, like 12, 17 maybe hours that like he was born until you had 6 months that you waited. And
Mhm.
I guess my mom guilt is just mom guilt because, it's the devil playing on that. Like that's a vulnerable time that he was
Mhm.
technically in. And, but yeah, so to trust God, knowing that he was with her while you were still here stateside and
Mhm.
trusting, like, thank you for saying that. Cause now hopefully that'll help me be like, he was okay in those hours. Like he was a newborn, he was sleeping. Um,
Mhm.
like he had the nurse and like I know the nurse took care of him because I got to meet her and she's like, he was great all night. And like, so yeah, so thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Like calms
Yeah.
my mama heart.
yeah, so you're helping
And
our mom guilt today.
it really helps even, as they grow and become more independent. I had some early practice on trusting God with
Mhm.
with her, and it helped in my parenting as my children grew and became more independent, and um, just the level of trust that you have because you don't always have control over anything, really. So,
Exactly.
As
Yeah.
much as we like to think that we have some form of control,
Yeah.
um, I saw here in the notes you had sent me that during the season of waiting is when you picked a middle name.
yeah, yeah. We decided it was very trendy at the time to use their Chinese name as a middle name, but I just I just felt impressed that I needed to have her middle name be Hope, Mira Hope. So it
Mm.
was Mira because of the miracle of adoption, and then Hope because, Jesus is our hope. That's all we could cling to.
I love that. I was gonna ask where Mira came from, so okay.
Well, our other girls have two-syllable M names, so we had to find a two-syllable M name.
All right.
Yeah, except then there's Trevor, the one boy gets his.
Well, Firstborn son.
That's right. So now let's talk about the first time that you're able to meet in person. What was that like? That had to be such. How did you even sleep before you got to
Oh,
go?
there was no sleeping. There was no sleeping, no eating, just praying. It was in a very sterile office building. It was so hot. They had a little room air conditioner in there, but it just cooled off the corner where the air conditioner was. She was the only one. Sometimes they brought the children in a group. But it was just her. She came in with her nanny, and it was bittersweet. It was tough to see her suffering, not knowing what was going on. Um, it was, you just couldn't believe it was real, that she was actually there and I could hold her. But I knew that she was suffering, so that was really difficult. The nannies were incredible and really familiar with the whole process. So they gave me, like bags full of cookies, her favorite cookies, different things they had prepared for me, um, to soothe her and comfort her. So it was a miracle, but it was bittersweet because she was suffering.
And Mira, do you have any memories of any of this early time of your life before you moved to the States?
I really don't. The only thing I really remember is having to sleep with other babies.
Okay.
That's only because she told me.
Mhm.
But coming from me, like past experience, I personally can't remember anything,
Mhm.
unfortunately. Um, as much as I would like to,
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't.
Yeah. I wonder that because I feel like in my life at like this age, I have maybe like two memories from being that young. Like I have so
Yeah.
few, so I didn't know if maybe because there was such a difference, if that helps, like, hey, you're in one place and another. But I think this is really interesting. So yeah, what did the therapist tell you about those memories she would have or not have?
Yeah, he told me that she wouldn't have any memories. And so he really implored me, everything that you speak about China is to be beautiful.
Mhm.
Everything. Like the pictures you take, he said, you're going to be forming her thoughts and feelings about her home country. So it's very important that everything you speak and say and show her is beautiful.
Yeah.
And I really took that to heart. Yeah.
So you met her, you spent the 10 days, the whole 10 days that you were in China, was she with you those whole 10 days? Like once you were there and met her, did you keep her or did she stay with the nannies during that time?
No, she stayed with us. So what they did was we took her home to the hotel the first night, and then, which I think was really difficult for the kids, but we would go back the next
Mhm.
day and finalize the adoption. Okay.
Okay.
So that's how that happened. So we were 5 days in her. So it was actually the capital of her province. It wasn't in her birth hometown,
Okay.
but the capital of her province. And it was really, really, really difficult. She did not smile. She was very unhappy. Um, it was really hard. I mean, we have some. There's a great story about. So we would go to breakfast every morning, and there's, I would say, dozens of other 2-year-olds that were adopted at the same time, and they're sitting in their high chairs and they're laughing and they're, for whatever reason, transitioning very easily. And Mira sat on my lap, and I mean there was a lot of bonding going on. I'm like spoon feeding her. Well, the last morning, so she never sat in a high chair. She sat on my lap. She's like, no, this is what I'm doing. And so we had a waiter every morning that just really took he just really liked Mira. and was super protective of her. And so the last morning, I guess he wasn't there when we came in, and somebody was bringing a high chair over for her, and he was like, "No, no, no." It was just the sweetest thing. We would have certain people throughout that were just very tender and protective and kind. Well, Rob and Mira had a little bit of a bonding time on the airplane. I'll get to this soon, but we were teaching her sign language,
Mhm.
and so she always wanted to be big. She always wanted to be grown up. So he was giving her little sips of water in a big girl cup on
Mhm.
the airplane, and she's saying, "More water, please." We're
Mhm.
talking like 4 days later. Like it was so beautiful. But anyway, she was like, "All right, I'll tolerate you." And
If you give me water, I will tolerate you.
so that was fun. But she really, really, really was not pleased with Rob at all. So we went shopping, and there was a Christian man who had a shop, and we all knew about it. Everybody knew about it. And it was, you had to be careful about being very openly Christian. But we went there, and I was like, "Look, I know she's going to cry, but you're going to have to hold her because I'm going to do some shopping. Like, I got to take presents home for people. I got to do some shopping here." And she is just so unhappy with Rob. And so this beautiful Christian man, Chinese man, he asks, "Can I hold her?" And we say, "Yes." And he, in Chinese, tells her, "This is your Baba. He's safe." Like, we're talking 9 days in. Nobody had thought to tell her.
Mhm.
Like, what in the world? And she, she believed him. Like, she
Mhm.
could sense his trust,
Mhm.
and she understood what he said, and she believed him, and she fell asleep in Rob's arms.
Wow.
Only God does that.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, so there's an example of he's giving her what she needed
Mhm.
at exactly the right time.
Great.
So,
Yeah.
That leads to
really,
my next question. How was the bonding for all of you? Like, obviously, it seems like she took to you, like
oh
I
yeah.
think most children do
Mhm.
quickly. They just feel that comfort in like the women and what's to be their mom since she was sitting on your lap every morning. But like, even once you were home stateside, did that continue or was there like a bonding issue with either of you? Or like after that moment in that store, she was good with both of you from there on out. Like she just God put it like she just knew.
I think so. I think the sleeping made it difficult at first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she actually was felt really safe with Molly right away.
Okay.
Right away. We did something called cocooning, which nobody could hold her except for us for 6 months.
Okay.
And we just didn't go too many places. We just didn't go too many places. We stayed home and tried to have a rhythm and a routine. This is what life is like here.
Mhm.
Um, and so we were very careful about doing that. But I I didn't notice we didn't have any bonding issues at all,
Mhm.
really.
And then you said she bonded well with Molly. Did she bond well with all of your other children then? Like, did everybody just, she's our sister from day
Mhm.
one?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And I would say, Trevor particularly was very gentle. They all just kind of gave her space to figure things out.
Mhm.
And it's like we let her kind of initiate
Mhm.
um, who she wanted to,
Mhm.
bond. My parents lived with us. They had like a den, and we just kind of waited and let her, as she felt safe in our
Mhm.
home, kind of explore. She got very close with Megan, and of course, her and Michelle grew up together, and But we were gentle with her and letting her initiate as she got more comfortable with our home.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. And then you were also, of course, dealing with that language barrier, and you had mentioned sign language. So do you want to talk about how you incorporated that into her early days?
Yeah. So we had videos at the time, and I would in the hotel, I would lay on my side, and she always wanted to be touching me, right? So she's sitting with me and we're watching signing times, and I often say that's why she put up with us because we gave her language
Mm.
and food. And but she had dozens of signs before we even went home.
Mhm.
And then in 3 months, she had more than 300 signs. Like because she had a cleft palate, she was just nonverbal, but
Mhm.
she wanted to speak her mind. And so we gave her that. And but the other thing was, so she's learning signs, but she's also learning English.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
I would recommend it for any age, any international adoption. They still have it as an app.
Mhm.
I'm sure you could get the old videos, but they still have it as an app. It's called Signing Times, and it was the best. And then we're all learning it with her. We just
Mhm.
had it on all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I had asked you this, but I believe you said it was an early surgery, right, for the cleft palate. I was curious what the time frame was, like after you came home versus when.
Yeah, it was only 3 months later. It
Okay.
was it
Yeah.
was really awful. Yeah.
Yeah. So that had to be very awful. You're just, getting accustomed to being at home. And of course, at that age, you can't really explain a whole lot of what's going on, without
But at the same time, then I had to blend her food and spoon feed her.
Mm.
So, there's just another level of having some of the early bonding times that we missed.
Yeah.
There, we're experiencing those,
Mm.
in
Yeah.
the right order and, the
Mm.
right stages of development.
Right.
So, it was, um, it was redeemed,
Right.
the
Mhm.
Yeah.
even though it was difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many surgeries did she have to have? Was it just one and done, or were there multiple?
That at least a dozen,
Okay.
at least a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All her life. Yeah.
Often, international adoption, you don't look like your adoptive family. So, Mira, do you ever remember a time in your life when you ever received like a comment on that? Were people curious when they met you or made any kind of commentary on you not physically looking like your family?
Not really, because mainly places I would go when I was like a teenager was
Mhm.
mainly school. So
Yeah.
like that's where I really was mainly at every single
Mhm.
day. And so like they've never really seen my parents, so I
Right.
never really had comments on that.
Yeah.
Um, so no, not really. Like, and if they have, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't remembered
Yeah.
Mhm.
because it's not been enough.
Right. Were there times that you felt different than your siblings because either of your nationality or because you were adopted? And if so, what helped you process those emotions?
I mean, I wouldn't say I felt different from my family, but I
Mm.
definitely felt different from the outside world, like other
Mm.
people that I knew that wasn't my family.
Mm.
Um, Once I was able to, learn more about it and
Mm.
understand more, that's when I started to understand like what happened and why it
Mm.
happened. So I just kind of accepted it.
Yeah.
And so no, I didn't really feel any different from my siblings, but
Mhm.
from other people and other families for sure.
Yeah.
Beth, how did you and your husband navigate the topic, like the differences from the nationality and the way they all looked with Mira and your other children? Like, did you feel that there was a difference with any of them? Or again, did they all just, this is just how our family
I
is?
think, yeah, when she was little, I always dressed her and Michelle the same, like,
Okay.
Mhm.
and so one time somebody asked me if they were twins. It's like, what? Like, no, they're not But
Yeah, and for
yeah.
context, none of your other children are even brunette, right? They're all kind of sandy blonde.
Well,
It varies.
they're brown now, but
Yeah.
when everybody was little, they were all blonde.
Yeah.
Megan's hair is a little darker, but definitely clear that Mira was adopted, and but I don't know. It just really wasn't an issue. There wasn't
Yeah.
any. I don't think the adoption caused any um additional sibling rivalry.
Okay.
You know.
Just the traditional one that was
Just
already
the
there.
traditional.
Well, and then with that, did you notice anything on the outside world, like friends or family or even strangers, that said anything to your family or about your family about the adoption of a child from a different country?
You know what? Even some of our family, extended family, who I would say was maybe lent more um, prejudice in other
Mhm.
ways. Mira just changed. I mean, everybody welcomed her, even
Mhm.
people who maybe were unsure at the beginning. Uh, um, so I was pleased about that. So even from extended family, Mira was welcomed
Mhm.
as part of the family. And I think we spent a lot of time in circles that was very open, very adoption friendly. And Chinese international adoption at the time was extremely prevalent.
Right.
So it was just really common. I mean, we would go out to dinner and there could be several families in one restaurant that had adopted from China.
Mm.
So I can't remember a time where we ever felt any pushback or
Mm.
Okay.
anything like that.
Mira, what were some ways that you and your family celebrated your biological culture?
Um, for Chinese New Year's, we would always go out, and then for my gotcha day, we would always celebrate as well.
Nice.
Um, I wasn't like growing up, I was a huge party girl, and now I'm just like keep it low
Yeah.
because I don't really like doing a lot. So going out to dinner and
Yeah.
everything is like my speed now. But I would dress up all the time when I was a little kid
Yeah.
for Chinese New Year and everything, and then we would go out to this restaurant with family and everything.
Yeah.
So
That's
Yeah.
cool.
We also they had beautiful artwork. It's like embroidery, but it looks like a painting.
Mm.
And I mean, we were just blown away by it. It was everywhere in the hotels. And
Mm.
so we actually bought a small piece of that. And then I designed our kitchen based on that artwork and
Mm.
then, had a Chinese. So like we definitely were honoring of the Chinese culture in
Mhm.
our home, even in our design and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Mhm.
incorporate that. And in a way that I think your whole family can appreciate too, because they have
Yeah.
that in their home. That's really
So Mira, now that you've reached adulthood, how would you say that adoption has shaped your life?
it definitely shaped my life for the better. There obviously was ups and downs and everything. And so I would say that it really just made me the person I am now and um how I feel like I couldn't be closer with my family because of it. So it's like it really grew um like I don't really know how to describe it. It's just like it definitely took a toll on my life for sure, but in a good way. And
Mhm.
then there's some bad parts, but most of it was good. And so
Mhm.
really right now, I've just reached the fact that like everything has already happened. So like I just move on from it.
Mhm.
And I just move on from life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a part of your past that shapes who you are today, but not something that necessarily you have to think about every day or, have that think about the bad parts every day. But
Doesn't define you.
yeah. for sure. And then what would you say to parents or to children who are maybe going through that adoption process, maybe to parents considering adoption, especially international adoption?
Yeah, I would definitely say it's definitely worth it. Unless they're on the side to where they're like, oh, I don't know, like I don't
Mhm.
know if like people are like, they care about people judging them.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Because obviously there's still judgment in this world, and so you're
Mhm.
still gonna get that no matter what, no matter
Mhm.
who you are, and no matter what family you're a part of. So like it's gonna happen either way,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But if they're really on the side of being like, oh, well, what if people judge us for,
Mhm.
having a different cultured kid or something?
Mhm.
I would definitely say that that's not their life, it's your
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
So um I would say that do whatever makes you happy, and if that
Mhm.
means internationally adopting somebody, I would definitely say it's worth it.
Mhm.
For adoptive children, I would 100% say yes. Adoption has its ups and downs, but in the end, it's all worth it. Kids might think that people don't want them because they were adopted at a certain age, or that they think they're not worth anything at a certain age. But no matter what age and no matter what age you get adopted, you are valuable no matter what. Whenever you're adopted, time or place, adoption does not reflect the value of who you are.
That's really beautiful. I cried when I got that email, so I wanted anyone to listen to be able to cry
Thank
too. So,
you.
but it's very wise words because unfortunately, I think it can be at times easy for anybody, but in this context, maybe
Mhm.
kids who have been adopted to let that define them in some way, whether it be their age or, I mean, really any part of that process.
Mhm.
And it is true. I mean, we know in God's eyes we're all valuable, and those things don't define us. They may be a part of our
Mhm.
lives, a part of our makeup, but they definitely don't define our value.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just a part of your story.
Yeah,
And um not God doesn't waste anything, and he redeems it all.
yeah,
So yeah.
absolutely. Um, so in closing, we wanted to note here that China closed international adoptions, and I believe I saw that was in August 2024. And that is except for stepchildren or biological connections within the last three generations. But that being said, there are many countries that are still open to international adoptions. A few of those include South Korea, Haiti, Bulgaria, Thailand, India, Colombia, and the Philippines. Beth, what advice can you offer for families who are considering international adoption?
Yeah, research, pray. Um, talk to, see if you can talk to other families who have been through the same process with that
Mhm.
particular agency. Um, and then once you find your agency, you have to do everything perfectly. Like, you have to follow every step. And I'll give you an example. Mira is working at a casino. And so in this culture in America right now with immigration, she's getting calls from the security, hey, did your parents ever get you your immigration
Mhm.
papers, things like that. Who would think that 20 years later
Yeah.
that would be important?
That I just like
So
that never would cross my mind. I would never even think about that going into a workplace as someone who was adopted age 2 is
Right.
not old enough to
That's
work.
like a whole nother different
yes.
step you have to
Yeah.
do once you're home and
Yes. So there's like you come home, you do a readoption in your hometown. So,
okay.
Mm.
she's has her adoption papers at the courthouse. But like you come home and you have to do a readoption, and then there are significant steps you have to take to get the immigration papers. And you've got to keep them safe. But even when you're developing your dossier, all of the documents for the international adoption. You want to have hard copies. I know it's, 2026, but you want to have hard copies. You want to have digital copies, and you want to just make sure everything is perfect, so that there's just no holdups, no glitches. You just have to be really, really precise. But that being said, if you do that, if you follow the steps, you really can trust that you're going to bring your child home. Unless there's some unforeseeable turmoil within one government or another. I mean, sadly, I know of family who they were had a referral with a special needs child from China, and it happened at COVID. So for 5 years, they reapplied, they did all the paperwork, and the governments could not reach an agreement. And so that little girl she's still there. And yeah, and I guess the other thing I would say is just, and I'm assuming that there's probably Facebook groups for that agencies have now. Back then we had a Yahoo,
Right.
a Yahoo group. Shows how long ago it was, but
we would like to thank Beth and Mira for taking the time to talk to us about international adoption and how it came into their lives, and then how it changed their lives for the better for both of them and then their whole families. So thank you, ladies, for being here, and we would like to close out in prayer. So, dear Heavenly Father, we are just so thankful for Beth and her husband, Rob, and their hearts to adopt, and how that then led them to adoption internationally, and then to Mira, and the miracle that she came to their family for her life and for their lives as well. And we are just thankful that they were willing to share their story with us today, and that whoever is listening, that they would take the words that they both said and take them to heart, and just let them rest in them for if they're making a decision to internationally adopt or adopt in general. And we just pray that they would speak wisdom into others' lives. And we just pray that you would be with each and one of us, every one of us, as we continue about our days. Thank you. Amen.
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 Thank you for joining us for today's episode. You can find us on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube.
You can also find us at Adoption Side by Side on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube video for more adoption content, and to follow along in our own personal journeys as we continue the adoption process.